Konnichiwa! Welcome to my channel. I'm your host, Samurai James. For this video we're going to cover, let's see. Alright, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do when we get the armor ready for display is set out everything, make sure that we have everything that we need. After that, we're going to get it all up on display. The order of setting it up for display is a little bit different than the order that you go in when you're actually putting it on to wear, so it might seem a little bit out of sequence, but stick with me till the end and it'll all make sense. Now, we're going to start with the Haidate. You'll notice that mine have a tab in the center and they also have a cord attached. This is used to keep it from sagging when you wear it, but I also use it when putting it on display to take some of the tension off of the belt as well. So what I've done is I've actually loosened the lid to the bitsu and it's sitting a little bit forward here. So I'm going to take the Haidate. I've actually lifted the lid to the bitsu and it's sitting a little bit forward now. So I'm going to take the Haidate, hold it down with my hand, then take the center cord back inside the bitsu to pinch it with the lid. This helps hold it in place. We're going to try to center up the Haidate a little. I like it where the little hole here for the riding crop and everything goes through. So I'm going to take this here. This is right about where I want it. And I'm going to hold it in place with my hand, lift the lid, and set it down into place. Notice I can take my hands off and it's sitting as is without even attaching the belt. So I'm going to take the belt and tie it loosely around the back just to make it display a little bit better. Alright, let's center it up here. There we go. Looking pretty good. Now for the stand, there's going to be 5 pieces. This one is for the body. The 2 that are the same are the legs. There's basically shoulders and a nose. So what we're going to do here, grab the body. You'll see the slots. We're going to slot one leg in. We're going to slot the other leg in. And I'm doing this sideways so you can see, but it's easier to do when you do it on the stand itself. But here we have our legs together. I'm going to place it on the stand. I'm going to slide the shoulders over. And then we're going to bring the nose down. Now we don't need to worry about centering it up exactly yet because we're still going to be putting stuff on it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the Kote. So for our Kote, since they are steel and fabric, they have a tendency to just kind of hang a little bit limp like that. So what we're going to want to do is take one of these nice padded display pillows. You can use newspaper, stuffing, old t-shirts, anything you have to set it up on display. This harness was actually provided with this nice pillow, so I'm a big fan of that. It's easy to get in here. I slide it in right down to the wrist. I'm going to hold the Kote and tie off the wrist so that the lace isn't hanging around flopping. So we're going to make a simple bow here. And now what we're going to do is attach it to the stand itself. Now the order you do this, left, right, or right, left, doesn't particularly matter when you're putting it on the stand. If you were actually armoring up, you work your way from left to right. This one happens to be for the left. That was actually just coincidence. Now you can see I've got a few ties here and a few ties here as well. What I'm going to do is take these that would normally tie across the body and use them to tie across the stand. What I like to do is press the pillow into place and hold it on the fabric so that the plate is right on the shoulder here. What I'm going to do is wrap it around and do a full circle so that it holds a little bit of tension on it. We're going to do the same here as well. So grab it, pinch it, one circle. Now you can see, even though the laces are loose, it's holding it into place nicely. So we're just going to put a little bow on it. And there we go. Now we're going to do the same thing with the other Kote. For sake of time, I've already put the pillow into it. We're just going to walk over here to the other side. We're going to do the same thing again. Bring it up until the fabric's sitting right where this plate is, where I want it. Bring it around on a full loop. Oops, sorry, Mr. Screen. All right, hold that one there. Bring it around. Make another full loop. And we're going to tie this one off as well. Now we have our kote into place and our haidate. Next, we're going to set up the dough. Depending on your style of dough, you may have one hinge, you may have no hinges, you may have multiple hinges that ties in the back, you may not even have a back plate. Mine is hinged on one side and tied on the other, so I'm going to put it on from the side with the hinge. We're just going to bring it around here. We're going to set it loosely on top. What I'm going to do is grab this first shoulder strap and set it into place. That's just going to help hold it on the stand for me for a minute while I get the kote out. So, toggle into place. We're going to pull the kote up. Now for this, you may need to lift the dough a little if it gets pinched. All right. Got that guy out of there. Tuck the arm fabric back inside. We're going to fix where I got this one backwards. There we go. Now we're forwards. So we're going to loop the other toggle up here. Kozane and Suneate is the proper terms for this. I don't know that I'm saying it correctly. So we're going to try to center this guy up here properly. Get our kote fabric sitting nicely, just like I want it. Very good. Now since mine ties off here, we're going to set the breastplate over top of the back plate. Grab our little loop and our tie, pull one end of the tie through, and then make a bow. And there we go. I'll pull it up a bit so there's not too much of a tail. All right, now that we have that into place, we want to set out the tassets nicely, the kusazuri. I like to make sure that the center one is centered. Most of these will have 7 tassets. Some may have 11, but 7 was more common. So you can see I've got one in the center. These 2 will go to the sides. Now these 3 are attached to the front. There are 2 that come down the side and 2 down the back off of the back plate. And that one fell into place nicely. Very good. All right, now these ties on the arm, I'm actually going to bring up and tie to the body armor itself, to the dough, to make sure that it sits in place nicely. So we're going to make use of this cord right here on the top of the watagami shoulder straps. So I'm going to fish through one and fish through the other. Now on some armors, this was actually a toggle as well. I do intend to convert this one to that later, however I have not done so yet. Oops. Got that backwards. It should be 1 underneath and 1 on top. I apologize. So here we go. And here we go. So 1, make a bow, and done. 2, make a bow, and done. Even out the tails here. We do want to make it look nice. Now we're going to repeat for the other side. Untie and pull through. 1 and 2. You'll notice I'm pulling these to the side here. Your armor may not have these. These are specifically for the Sode style that I have, which are the large shoulder guards. If you have the modern or smaller Tosei Gosuku modern armor style, they will also have the toggles on them, as you've seen in the front here. So we're going to tie that one up. That takes care of all 4 of these. So with that, the kote are done. Now we're going to get the padded belt. Find the middle. We're just going to loop it right over top. Pull it through and tie it off in the front. There. And tuck in our... Alright, that takes care of the body armor for the do. We're going to move on to the osode. Alright, here's the first osode. If your sode have rings like this, these rings go to the back. They're used for the lacing that goes to the agamaki bow in the back. So for mine, I also have 2 additional. These are specific to the osode. This ring is what I'm going to tie that lace that I mentioned earlier to. So we're going to grab one end of the lace, feed it through here, grab the other end, and as usual, pull it up and make a bow. There we go. Now with this extra, I pull it here and wrap it around in the front. This helps keep the shoulder from flopping around too much. Give it a few good wraps, and then I tuck it inside. I don't like the visual for the tassets in the front. Sorry, the tassels. You may, which is perfectly fine, just not my preference. Now this top one here is going to go through the back. I'll have a separate video covering how to do this with the agamaki bow. So this would come through. These 2 on the side would also come through. And again, I'll cover that in a different video, both for the osode style and the newer sode, which will only have a single tassel on them. Now let's grab the second one. Same thing, we're just going to tie it on with the ring here. Grab, pull through, snug it up a bit, tie, and bow. Almost. Come on. There we go. Alright. Same thing. I'm going to grab my excess, pull it around, loop it a few times, even it out. There we go. And for the bow in the back. Alright, we're getting pretty close. Now we're going to move on to the mempo. Now for the mempo, you'll notice it has a cord on the back like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the front nose through here, and I'm going to lift this up over the plus and hook it over the back. So right like that. Now you'll see the nose keeps it centered here, the nose of the actual stand itself. These 2 cords are coming over the top of the sides, and they're on the back like this. It's staying in place okay like this simply by friction. I've seen where other people actually have a little nub at the back of the stand, or will put a small nail there to help keep it in place. Mine stays in place perfectly fine, but if you want to put that on, no problem at all. I don't know that that's particularly historical, although I don't know if the actual stand displayed like this is actually historical or not. Most of what I've seen involves storing them in the box, so hey, it's underneath the armor. Once it's displayed, that's okay. Now we're going to move on to the Kabuto. So what is commonly one of the coolest and most iconic pieces of the samurai armor, the Kabuto itself. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to place it right on top of the stand. Now while we're doing this, we want to see that the brow is centered up properly on the mask. We're going to get ready to pull it through to tie it off. I'm going to do a simple bow for this. There are many ways that you can tie the Kabuto. Some of them had 3 points on the helmet, some of them had 5. They use the little pegs on the mask here to tie off with as well. I'll cover variations on how to tie kabutos in a separate video. For now, we're just going to do a simple bow. Now, lengths of the cord were about the same, so that it hangs, that they'll hang to about the same length here. Now you can see centered, centered, down the center, down the center, down the center. Makes it nice and clean and symmetrical. So you may think we're done since we've got to the helmet, but earlier I mentioned this goes on a little bit different than how you would do it if you're actually wearing it. So now we're actually going to circle all the way back to the bottom. Let's move to the Waraji. Okay, we're getting pretty close. Now we're doing the Waraji. We're going to set these into place as expected on centers. If you don't have any Waraji, that's perfectly fine. If you had Kigutsu or you had Kogake, go ahead and place them there. My Kogake are on order. I don't have them yet, so for now I'm just using the Waraji, which was pretty simple. So for the finishing touch, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the Suneate last. Alright, for the last parts of the display, we're going to set the Suneate in place. For mine, I have fabric attached and I have that tucked in on the back. And I also have it tied off to keep it nice and clean from the front. So we're going to set these in place right on top of the Waraji. If you have Kigutsu or Kogake, you could also use those to set in place underneath of these. And with that, we've got everything set up. Now, why did I do this last instead of first, as you may see some people do? I tend to trip over the Suneate. I've noticed numerous times that I just knock them over as I'm tying the kote into place or trying to get behind the dough to pass the cords over for the agamaki bow on the back. So I find it easier to actually just do it last so that I don't have something there to trip over. And with that, you just take care of all the finishing touches on it. Okay, for the finishing touches, you want to make sure that your Waraji and Suneate are sitting upright and roughly evenly spaced apart. After that, you want to make sure that your Haidate is sitting properly. You don't want too much overlap. You don't want too much gap either. Now we're going to move up to the shoulders. You want to make sure that you have everything tied off, that your kote are tied up and snugged into place, that your Sode are attached properly, and if you have any of the extra ropes like I do, that they're either wrapped around or tied off in a bow, whatever your preference for display is. Now if your Sode have a brass ring that goes towards the back, and you'll want to make sure that your rope is also attached around the back for the agamaki bow. Now we're going to move back around to the front and we're going to take a look at the kusazuri. Make sure that the skirting is sitting in place properly, one down the center and two at the sides if you have the standard 7-piece. If you have the 11-piece, then same idea, centerpiece towards the middle, the extras towards the side, and the rest towards the back. Now once you're happy with that, take a look at the rest of the kote, make sure it's filled out nicely with the pad or the pillow inside of it, and make sure that the fabric for the kote stayed inside of the dough. Once you've done that, also take a look at the dough, make sure that your uwa-obi is tucked in nicely, that you don't have anything flopping and loose on it, and also double check to make sure that you tied off the side of the dough, or if yours has two ties, one on each side, make sure that you've tied both. I'm only showing this image with the one tie because mine is hinged on the side. This is a close-up showing where I have the kote sitting in the middle of the kusazuri skirt. This helps it stay in place without slipping off. Now you just want to take a look at where the shinobi no-o is falling. That's the cord or the rope for the kabuto. For that, you want to see if it's falling in the middle of the fitting in the center of the dough. Working vertically up from there, that should go directly up into the chin, directly up into the nose, and the nose should be centered with the center of the Haidate up on top of the kabuto as well. Keeps a nice clean vertical line. Here's a close-up of the Kabuto cord that's sitting over top of the tare, which is the neck guard underneath of the Mempo. You want to make sure this is sitting on top of the cords for the dough. You don't want it tucked underneath of them. I've moved the mustache out of the way for this picture. This is a shot at an angle to show where you should be able to see the eyes from the Mempo over the Kabuto. Shouldn't be pulled all the way forward, shouldn't be hanging back too far. You want it to be roughly the size of an eye slot, as if it were a European helmet. And this is the same view from the front, showing the opening with the eye slots as well, and showing a little bit of the vertical alignment between the Haidate, the nose, the mouth, and going down into the Kabuto cord underneath.
and one more image to show you how the Kabuto and the Mempo sit.
Alright, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up below. Let me know what you thought down in the comments. If you want to join the Samurai Clan, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you tick that bell so that you see all the upcoming notifications when I post new videos. And until next time, this is Samurai James saying sayonara.